I'm a facility manager and I passed the PMP 3 years ago. But here's 5 things I wish I knew before taking the exam that would make it so much easier. Hi, I'm Trevor Harley and I've been in facilities for nearly a decade. Let's jump into it. Okay, the first thing I learned is that the test is mainly scenario based. I thought that the test was going to be full of vocabulary, full of questions asking what the specific definition is, which process group and input / output are next, the definitions for certain words, specific tools, graphs, and functions, every inch of detail. But it wasn't. The test mainly had questions on how you can use the PMP framework and methods and apply them to real life scenarios and for you to identify the best response in each scenario. You can't really memorize the best answer to those questions because they require critical thinking and problem solving skills that you'll only understand if you know the big concepts and how everything connects together rather than focusing on the little details. So although those vocabulary terms were important, looking back, they were not where I would have focused my studying. I should have read more case studies, connected the dots to real life examples, and tried to apply the material to the projects that I was currently working on in my role. This would have reduced the amount of hours I spent studying over the finer details, looking for specific definitions, spending a lot of time on vocabulary, poring over material that was asked less on the exam, as opposed to focusing on what the test was mainly on. The second thing I wish I knew was how to have better time management during the exam and how to pace myself. The test is 180 questions and you get 230 minutes to answer them. This might seem like a long time, but this only gives you 1.3 minutes a question, which on average comes out to about 76 seconds per question. You need to know how to pace yourself, including bathroom or stretching breaks. During the test, I struggled with time management as I'd skip questions, but I'd spend too much time on others. The adrenaline and test anxiety made it so it was harder for me to focus, which resulted in me rereading questions, having to rush through several questions towards the end of the exam, and I probably could have got some of those right. In addition, I didn't take into account the time it takes for the bathroom breaks and the stretching breaks. If I had known that all of those counted towards time on the exam, I would have planned to make sure that I went to the bathroom first before the exam and I didn't chug a bunch of water or drink a bunch of coffee right before the test. This resulted in a lot more breaks than I would have liked, which threw me out of the test rhythm. Also, I would have brought some satiating snacks to help keep my energy levels up during the test. My wife is a nutritionist, so I should have known better to not eat while testing. Snacks like beef jerky, hard-boiled eggs, and trail mix would have been great for added fuel while test taking. The third thing I wish I knew was that the test taking software takes some time to learn. It's called Prometric software, and it takes a little bit to go through the tutorial right before you take the test. Whether you're taking it at home or in person, you have to take a few minutes to learn the software, figure out how the buttons work, how you can highlight, scroll, flag questions, and go back to the ones that you want to look at. Don't get me wrong, it's not hard. It's just a slight mental obstacle that I wasn't prepared for, which threw me off, made me have to rush through the first questions, which, going back to the time management piece, made it really difficult for me to pace myself, make sure that I had enough time for those bathroom breaks and tougher questions because of the software just at the beginning of the test. This also resulted in increased test anxiety, stress, and instantly I felt rushed to get straight to the exam and start working on some questions. This probably led to me missing a couple of those first questions off the bat that I could have gotten right if I knew this was coming. I wish someone had told me about this beforehand so I wasn't surprised, and now there's actually a video on the website that you could look at so that you're not surprised like myself. Before you take the exam, visit the Prometric website where you could watch a video tutorial on how to use the software and what to expect on exam day. The fourth thing I wish I knew was to have a scratch paper strategy. This is a strategy for one piece of scratch paper that you get at the beginning of the exam. Unfortunately, I just used it for working through problems and some questions and jotting down notes. But if I were to do it all over again, I would have had a game plan and a strategy that would be used to improve my time management by adding in important formulas such as schedule variance, earned value, and cost performance index. Then I would have written down all the knowledge areas and process groups right when the test started so that I wouldn't have to scramble and do it later when I'm feeling frustrated. Even though this would only take a minute or two to jot down, this would have saved me a lot of time trying to think of the formulas, remembering which process groups and knowledge areas come next, and the end result would have been me getting more correct answers and more time to spare for the harder questions, bathroom break, or any stretches that I needed to do during the exam. Okay, but the biggest thing I learned that I wish I knew before taking the PME, that there are study groups available and plenty of resources for you to connect connect with about any questions that you have on the material. These are available online, in person. You could do a tutor, you could have peers, you could join Facebook groups. All of these resources I didn't realize were available to me. And so what ended up happening is I studied and I did this completely on my own, which was really frustrating because when I had questions or I had issues with the material, I didn't have anybody to talk to, explain everything, and it led to me assuming a lot of answers that I probably didn't fully understand. Whereas if I had somebody to bounce ideas off of or maybe get some clarification on the material, I would have retained the information better and I probably would have gotten more questions right. Also, I took the PMP during 2020, which made it really hard to connect with other people, but even now, it can be hard to connect with people in person because we're all so busy with work, family, and friends. So these online support groups are super valuable because you can network online, virtually, and you can increase your confidence and your knowledge of the topic so much better. Plus, the additional community and support would have made you feel more confident and enjoy the process more as well. You don't know what you don't know. So having to connect with these people, getting ideas off of others, you're gonna learn a lot more in that process, and it's probably gonna be more fun anyways. If I could take it again, I would have connected with the study group or a tutor to have a discussion on many of these topics that I had questions about. You can go online right now to Project Academy, Facebook, or even PMI to connect with these groups. And there's a lot of valuable study networks out there. Or you can just convince your friend to take the PMP with you as well, and then you can do it together. I hope you found these tips helpful, and if you decide to take the PMP exam, I hope that you don't make the same mistakes that I did. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoy these experience-backed tips, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.